So this is part 2 to the How Do I Know I'm Done Losing Weight video, but you do not need to watch them in order. I certainly recommend watching the first one if you haven't, but you can obviously do that after you watch this one. And if you're new here, my name is Betty, and over the past 15 months, I have lost around 110 pounds with the help of Zepbound. And after today's video, you're really going to have some actionable questions and actionable steps that you can take, just knowing a little bit more clearly if you are ready to actually enter maintenance. So let's get into it. Question 1, do I like how I feel in my body right now? Notice I did not ask, do I like everything about my body? We're asking, how do we feel in our body? How is our energy? How is our performance in the gym? How is our sleep? How is our mood? How does our mobility feel? Do we feel, achy? Do we feel like we can move through the world freely? Do I feel confident? Do I feel energetic? Do I feel comfortable in my skin? One of the biggest things to keep in mind is that you don't need to have perfection to feel comfortable where you are right now. And if overall the answer is yes, you feel comfortable, you feel good living in your body, that's wonderful. And if not, that's also okay. It just might mean that you're not quite ready to enter into maintenance yet. Question number 2, what would I have to do to lose more weight? And this question is interesting because for a lot of us, we might think just because we want to lose weight that we should, but we have to kind of take a step back and say, okay, well, what does that actually require of me to lose more weight? And while the medications obviously are very helpful and they support us in that, they're not going to do all the work for us. And so whether that is, do I need to eat less? Do I need to move more? Maybe increase my caloric burn or my movement throughout the day. Maybe that might mean a little bit more restriction. That might mean a little bit more, focus on whether it's tracking your food or being a little bit more diligent about the nutrition and exercise piece. If that is what you are wanting to do to lose more weight, wonderful. But if that's not something that you are willing or wanting to do, then it also might mean you might be ready for maintenance. And you also need to ask yourself, if I were to do those things and I were to lose another 5-10 pounds maybe, would that actually drastically improve my life? Or would it just simply, make me smaller? And for those of you who have more to lose, obviously, well, if you have more to lose, you're probably not asking yourself, do you need to be in maintenance? So I feel like this conversation is probably appealing to the majority of you who are kind of teetering on the edge of, am I at my goal weight? Am I not? Maybe weight loss is slowing down. And you're asking yourself, am I ready for maintenance? Is that something that I should be, thinking about and focusing on? So these questions I think are more geared towards someone who is thinking about that, but obviously they're helpful for everybody because at some point in our journey, we're all going to have to ask ourselves these questions and know whether we need to enter maintenance or not. Question 3 piggybacks off of question 2, and that is, am I willing to live the lifestyle that is required to get leaner? Because there's a difference between what works temporarily and what works long-term. And obviously with maintenance, this is not a temporary situation. We are in it for the long haul. So for those of you who are saying, can I push myself to lose another 5-10 pounds? What would that take? And am I willing to live that way and make those choices for the long haul? If you want to get leaner, if you want to, have less body fat on your body, that takes work, that takes extra effort. And keep in mind that the leanest version of you isn't always the healthiest version of you. And it isn't always the happiest version of you either. Question 4, if the scale never changed again, what would you focus on? So I want you to imagine that starting today, the scale never moved an inch. It didn't go up, it didn't go down, it was just frozen forever. What would you focus on? For me, I would focus on building muscle in the gym. I would focus on just getting stronger with my weights at the gym. I'd probably focus on endurance and feeling more athletic. And also the freedom that it frees up in our minds to not have to be focusing on the weight anymore. And I know for so many of us, we've experienced that with the lack of food noise now and the amount of free brain space we have, that We aren't, obsessing about food all the time. And so I think when you get to maintenance, it's possible for that focus of the scale. Is it moving? Is it not moving? It's possible for that focus to be maybe not removed completely, but lessened to a certain degree where we can have more brain space for other things in our lives. And chances are, if you're not focusing on the scale, but you're simply focusing on habits that help you feel healthier, those habits ultimately may lead to less body fat or more muscle mass or a smaller number on the scale. In general, they'll lead to more health. And regardless of what the scale does, if inside our body is getting healthier, that's amazing. That's really what the, higher goal should be, is that we want overall health, regardless of what the scale is saying. Number 5, am I excited for maintenance or am I afraid of maintenance? This is something that I was not expecting to be such a big topic when I ventured out on this, big weight loss journey. But for myself, and I know for so many of you, this is a big deal. It is unknown. You are unsure. There's just so much confusion, I think, around what maintenance looks like, for good reason, right? For so long, most of us, we know how to lose weight. We've done that a million times. And we might know how to keep it off for a short amount of time, but we don't really know what real maintenance looks like. If we did, we obviously wouldn't be here. So when all you know is that every time you hit maintenance, you end up gaining the weight back, of course, there's going to be a part of you that's kind of terrified of going there, right? But obviously these medications are different. This is a brand new, we've never lost weight before with a GLP-1. So keep that in mind when maybe there's a voice in your head saying, well, if I enter maintenance, what if I gain it all back? Remind yourself that you have never lost weight or maintained weight with the help of a GLP-1. You have never had this biological boost with this medication. So we don't know what it's going to look like. It looks like it's pretty good so far. It looks like it's, maintenance is pretty steady as long as you are obviously staying on the medication and figuring out whatever that maintenance dose looks like. But it makes sense that we have a little bit of fear around this. Also, if you are someone who's been losing weight your entire life, part of your identity is wrapped up in the focus and that purpose of always needing to lose weight. And losing that part of you can be something to grieve. It can be something to mourn, because at the end of the day, whether we like it or not, that was a big part of ourselves. It was a big part of our mental and emotional energy. And when that is no longer needed, it's kind of like, well, now what? What do I do? Like, that was part of my identity, and that part of me is no longer needed, which can be scary. And I know I've talked about this in one of my other maintenance videos, and I go into deeper around that. And if you are interested, it's a really, really important video to watch. So I highly recommend watching that if you are anywhere contemplating your maintenance part of this journey. And another thing, maintenance can kind of feel boring. The weight loss phase, you're losing weight, it's exciting. You're fitting into new clothes. People are noticing that your body is changing. You might be hitting new records at the gym or, just physically able to do more things. Maintenance becomes pretty steady, It's really just maintaining the body that you've created with all of that hard work. And that doesn't always seem as fun or as exciting. But maintenance isn't the end of the journey. Maintenance is the proof that the journey worked, that all that hard work that we put in, that we showed up for ourselves, that we kept those promises to ourselves. Maintenance is proof that all of those choices that you've made have paid off. And it's where we learn to live with all those choices and to live in this body that we've created. And so instead of thinking of it as this kind of scary unknown, this is uncharted territory, but it's so exciting. We get to live every day in this new body that we are proud of, that we feel free and healthy in. And maybe that means new challenges for ourselves. Maybe that just simply means enjoying being in a body that you are comfortable in. And that is enough. We don't need to continue pushing. We don't need to continue striving if we don't want to. Or we can, and then we pull back. And we can, and then we pull back. It's up to you how you choose to live and maintain this body and this health that you have created. And I think that is actually really exciting. And because I think this question about, am I excited for maintenance? Am I fearful for maintenance? Is really powerful, I would suggest taking some time and journaling, writing about it. What does your brain say maintenance will look like? What is it afraid of? What is it excited for? And then I want you to focus on, what do you want maintenance to look like? Does it line up with what your brain is telling you? Or is it a completely different story? Because if we choose to cling to the past story, whatever that is, and maybe it's a story that isn't serving you and isn't in alignment with your new goals, then we need to consciously choose a new story. And if we don't know what the existing story is, we can't consciously make that choice. And one more thing to add to this question is biofeedback is really important. And I want you to think about the fact that if you're feeling strong and energetic and clear-minded and, your blood, your labs look good, everything feels good, but there's a part of you that's saying, but I want to get smaller. I want to hit a certain number on the scale because my mind says it means something. It has some sort of meaning to me. I want you to ask yourself, if you hit that number, but all of a sudden you feel weaker, you feel more tired, you feel a little bit more foggy, is that number still worth it to you? My guess is that it's a no. My guess is that you'd rather be a little bit heavier on the scale, but feel better and have a better quality of life. So keep tabs on that. Be aware of that. Check in with your body. Yes, checking in with your weight and your measurements and how your clothes are fitting and how your labs are looking. All really important. But the day-to-day of how am I sleeping? What is my mood like? How is my energy? How is my strength? Those things you're going to notice every single day, and they're going to impact your quality of life every second of every day. So those things do matter. And I'll be honest with you, since hitting that 145 mark, which was my original goal that I had set for myself, and seeing, the scale just continue to drop and drop, I've been in this question of, well, am I really ready for maintenance? It doesn't seem like my body's ready for maintenance, and I still feel good. I feel better. I feel lighter. I have a 18-month-old and she's probably almost 30 pounds now. And carrying her up a hill, we live on a hill, so our driveway is hilly. Carrying her on my arm with the diaper bag and some other things the other day, walking up the hill, it was so easy. It was so easy. Running up the stairs with her, so easy. Before, that would have been hard. That would have been uncomfortable. And yes, I was someone, I've been working out and strength training, hit all the things, but carrying all that extra weight, it's just harder. And so I like being lighter. I still feel strong. I still feel good, but my body just feels better being lighter. So with that being said, I've been in this kind of limbo of, am I ready for maintenance? And if you haven't watched that first video, you can go back and watch it. But I talk about the moment that I kind of knew, okay, I'm ready for maintenance. And I'm ready for my focus to shift. But not everyone will have that moment. And that's why these questions and the questions in that other video are so helpful to give you clarity to figure out, are you there? Are you not there? Are you getting close? Like I said, there's so much confusion about all of this. And so gaining a little bit of clarity can feel really grounding and can just help you settle so you can make a better decision. And I think we all recognize that the goal was never to just lose weight forever. At some point in this process, the focus needs to shift. And the question is no longer, how do I lose weight? It's, how do I live in this body and in this life that I worked so hard to build and will continue to build every single day, to build on it. And that's a new choice that we get to make every single day when we wake up. We still get to show up for ourselves. We get to maintain, we get to keep the body that we've built. And for me, that's really what maintenance is about right now anyway. I'm in the early stages of it, but it's really about learning how to sustain the results that I've worked so hard to create. And at the end of the day, that's going to be the most important skill of all, because that's going to be the longest skill that we will have to be practicing every day for the rest of our lives. I would invite you to ask yourself these 5 questions along with the 5 questions from the other video, but give yourself the time and the space to really answer these questions so that you can have more clarity as you figure out if maintenance is what you're ready for. And if you are, great. And if you're not, great. Both are fine, because at some point down the road, you will be ready for maintenance. It is inevitable. It is a 100% chance that at some point you will enter maintenance. And whether you are entering maintenance or you're just starting your journey or you are smack dab in the middle of it, if you are looking for more support, if you're looking for a community of individuals who understand what it's like to go through this process, maybe your doctor gave you this medication and sent you on your way. Maybe you don't want to tell your friends and family because you aren't comfortable and feel like they won't support you. You do not need to be going through this alone. You do not need to be going through this with, massive amounts of information, some good, some bad. You do not need to be overwhelmed. You do not need to be confused and nervous that you're not doing this right. And that's exactly why I created the Betty Collective. It's open now. I'm really excited. So you can sign up in the link below. So I'm really, really excited to create and cultivate a space that is not only a safe space for you, but also a space to gain confidence and have accountability and to learn and to be able to support one another, because those are crucial pieces of this puzzle. And they're crucial pieces of not only losing the weight, but of being able to maintain it. So sign up below and I will be so excited to get to know you guys better. Super quick editor's note. So I filmed this video prior to the opening of the Betty Collective. The Betty Collective has been open and the doors have closed. So if you want to join the waitlist for when it opens again, you are more than welcome to in the description below, but the doors are closed for right now. So as always, I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for watching. If this video was helpful, if you gained some sort of insight from it, I would love it if you would like it and subscribe and become a part of this community. All right, guys, thank you so much. I will see you next time. Bye.